The Thunderbolts comes out in like half of a year, and I am so excited and anticipating for this movie. And we are going to go over some big things from the trailer that most people probably didn't see, and that was an obvious death. Obviously, I've talked about two of them and how currently there's two that I know of, unless they altered one of them, but there is one that is for sure. And we're going to go over in this video how I think it's this character and how exactly we were given the context clues and how we're going to solve it. Let's get into the video. Alright, so we're going to start with the obvious. My buddy Gabby MG_news on Twitter. Give him a follow. I mean, he is amazing. Pretty much went on to say, I've rewatched it, and the only scene where Taskmaster is with the Thunderbolts is at Val's tower, the Watchtower. Feels like they added her to avoid spoilers since she's missing in other shots, like the elevator scene. She's not going to last long in the Thunderbolts movie. And I mean, that's an obviously good look because these are most of the scenes where we see them all together. However, I do have to mention that if you go back and you look at those four pictures, there is something very different about each one of them, and we're going to dive into that right now. So pretty much the top left is essentially midway through the movie. I'm assuming this is once the sentry actually is noticed, hey, Bob is the sentry, you know, when they're looking at him through the Watchtower. It could be towards the end of the movie because the rumor is they're going to fight him on top of the Watchtower, aka the new Avengers Tower. Number two is obviously the same scene, but they're looking in a different angle. It's more than likely when they drove the car into the tower before they actually go up. Now, the third one is when they all finally group up together, and this looks like when Bucky shoots them in the limo, and he guides them all up into the Avengers Tower to meet up with Valentina, who he's been spying on through the US government. And last but not least is the scene where Taskmaster is circled, and this seems like she was already with Valentina at this point in time, and Valentina's been working on her, possibly helping her getting back her memory. As we know, she's had a really messed up time through the Red Room and with her dad. Now, obviously, those four, like I just said, we're going to dive more into the next couple pictures, but it might make a little bit more sense. Here we go. First up is the vault. So, in the vault right here, you see when they're all fighting each other, and you see she pulls out her bow. Now, take a very big look at the bow. Once again, make sure you take a good look at it real quick because it's going to change in about 40 seconds. Next up, we see Ghost and Taskmaster fighting. I do want to point out that Ghost is still wearing her mask at this point, which is what separates this scene from the rest. Vault Part 2 is pretty much what I titled it, and this is when they turn when Bob falls out, and as you can tell, you have Yelena, Ghost, and Walker all turning to see that it's Bob. And you can tell at this point, there is no Taskmaster in this scene, and during this part, obviously Red Guardian didn't come along either, and Bucky has not been with them yet. This is when they first go on, and they realize something is happening, somebody wants us gone. Which then obviously leads into this scene where we see them all look at each other, the room starts to become red, stuff comes from the ceiling, and fire starts to go out. Next up, as you can tell, there are four characters right here. Yes, I know it might be hard to see the fourth character, but as you can see jumping through the air is John Walker taking the blow with his shield, blocking the fire. You got Bob right there with the Jesus pose. Yelena is holding her staff, and then on the wall is Ghost. If you actually watch this part of the trailer, Ghost phases out so she doesn't take damage, but she is the one letting them all out of the vault that's locked up. I'm assuming she, moves her molecules and goes through the wall, enabling herself to get out. Next up, this is an important part. Once again, like I said, make sure you follow along with the bow. Right here, Ghost has Taskmaster's bow. I'm assuming this is when Taskmaster bites the bullet a little bit back. Once Taskmaster and Ghost kind of get this bond because, they both went through father issues and they both were used as contract soldiers. So I think that they have this really big bond in it, which, we don't know exactly how she dies, but the rumor is that Ghost and Taskmaster are going to fight Sentry 2v1 and he's going to kill her. So I'm assuming this is what this is, and then you have Ghost aiming her bow, maybe at Sentry, maybe to make him not pay attention to her, maybe she's blowing something up, we don't know. Next up, this is when everybody meets up with Val for the first time. Notice how we have Walker, we have Red Guardian in the back left corner, you have Bucky, you have Ghost, and you have Yelena. Obviously, I believe this is when from down the stairs we get Taskmaster, realizing that Taskmaster has been recuperating with the help of Valentina, who's been essentially giving her back her memories and pretty much get rid of all the stuff that her father had taught her and just, giving her a better life in a sense. Next up is the car scene. This is Bucky, and obviously this is before the Val scene, but this is when you have Ghost, Yelena, Red Guardian, and John Walker, and Bucky ends up coming to help them out. So obviously, throw those two out of order. Once again, I apologize, but, once again, no Taskmaster. We gotta mention there is no Taskmaster. And this is pretty much what gets me to believe that she is gonna bite the bullet super early on the film. I mean, I know I'm kind of just putting a bunch of pictures together, but realistically, if you just follow the pictures through the plot points, it makes sense. Ghost is biting the bullet. I mean, Taskmaster is biting the bullet, and I think she's going to self-sacrifice herself, and she's going to finally accept that she was so destroyed and used, and it was so bad, and this is something that she can do that's good, that can help them get onto their mission, and pretty much take down Valentina as they realize that she was wrongdoing. She started controlling Bob. She's the one who actually made Bob, and essentially in the long run, they got to put her down, where it's going to be a final showdown with Bob the Sentry and the Thunderbolts at the end, on top of the watchtower. Let me know what you think. Was this useful? If not, say it in the comments. As always, I'll catch y'all on the next one, and make sure to follow me over at Twitter at the GeekyCast. Catch y'all on the next one.